for staying with me for this hour of One American News. I'm Rachel Senes. President Trump on Thursday spoke out about the administration's deregulatory efforts that support American workers while warning of the, quote, dismal future that would come if Joe Biden is elected president. One America's Jenn Pellegrino catches up with a small business advocate who's echoing the president's concerns.
Joining me now is Clay Clark, small business advocate and author of Fear Unmasked, to discover the truth about the coronavirus shutdown. Clay, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for allowing me onto your show.
I would love to talk about your visit yesterday to the White House. The president spoke on the South Lawn in quite a display, talking about some of the deregulation. From your perspective, what was that visit like?
Well, I'm from Oklahoma, where if you can imagine it, there are no masks wearing in the town I live in, Broken Arrow. There's very little regulations. No businesses are shut down. And when we arrived in D.C., everything's boarded up. Things are shut down. It felt kind of like a war zone. But then when we entered into the oasis behind the White House there, I was blown away at the energy and the enthusiasm of this silent majority, people who are excited and cheering for the president as he was able to articulate within an hour how he's delivering on all of his promises. And we can use incandescent light bulbs again. Check that out. So I was excited.
So, deregulation isn't something we hear a whole lot about. Yep. It doesn't get a ton of attention in the media. What do you think are some of the key steps this administration has taken that the president spoke about yesterday?
Well, if you remember, the president said for every one regulation that's passed, he promises to remove 2. And for every one that he has allowed, he's removed 7.5, almost 8. He's removed 8 regulations for every 1 regulation. So as a business owner, we just want government to get out of our way. We don't need government's help. We need government to get out of the way. And I just could not be more ecstatic about the president actually delivering on what he promises versus sleepy Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden, he wants to completely defund the police and then just absolutely kill businesses by overwhelming us with regulation after regulation. I would say Joe Biden now represents the Communist Party.
So looking at the election, it's just under 4 months away. What do you think are some of the specific deregulations that the president has taken that are really key that Americans need to pay attention to?
Well, one, when you own your own property, you would think you own your own property. But with the regulations passed by the Obama administration, they regulate just small, we'll call them puddles, maybe ponds. They want to have government oversight over how you as a farmer use your own pond, your puddles, your streams. And the president has now made it where people who own their own property can actually own their own property. They don't have to deal with the federal government when living on their own land. So also the federal government under the Biden administration, they want to have federal oversight into the suburbs. So if you live in the suburbs in a peaceful neighborhood with a group of people who've chosen to live there for whatever reason, Joe Biden wants the federal government now to get involved and to tell you who can live where, who can live here. And then he wants to bring low-income housing right into the smack middle of suburbia. So Joe Biden versus President Trump could not be more contrasted. You have the Communist Party, Joe Biden, versus the Liberty, the Conservative Party, President Trump.
Clay, from your perspective, the president said yesterday that America would suffer with Joe Biden as president. What do you see as some of the things that are very concerning, the regulations that Joe Biden would impose?
Well, I have this little theory that if businesses are closed, they probably won't be open. And Joe Biden has indicated that he wants to require masks coast to coast, that he wants to regulate every aspect of your life. But if we have a guy like Joe Biden in charge, America's going to quickly become a communist country. We're not going to recognize it. It's going to become a socialist cesspool. We have to vote for President Trump because he's actually a person who understands how business works, how the economy works. He believes in the Constitution. He believes in that controversial book called the Bible. President Trump all the way in 2020.
Clay Clark, thanks so much for being here today.